Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers, including Peter Berryman, John Robertson, Brandon Trano, and IndyCar World Champion Alex Palou. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Good evening everyone and welcome live to Apex Racing TV for round 11 of the ARL Mazda Cup here at Hockenheim. The Hockenheim Ring Baden-Württemberg is a motor race circuit situated in the Rhine Valley near the town of Hockenheim in Baden-Württemberg, Germany, located on the Bertha-Benz Memorial Route. Amongst the motor racing events, it has hosted the German Grand Prix, most recently in 2019. The circuit has very little difference in elevation. Tonight we return to the very entertaining 3 15-minute races with reverse grids for race 2 and 3. Whereas in the early rounds of the season the tracks were short and narrow, we arrive at a track that has everything: long straights, tight hairpins and a tricky stadium section. But with one notable difference: a wider track to make side-by-side racing all the more exciting. So grab your Stein and Bradfurst and get ready for some great racing. I am Andy Thompson. I'm joined in the commentary booth with Adam Hatfield and Sebastian Bosch-Williams. And in the production box we have Luis Aurora. Welcome guys. Adam, round 11, Hockenheim. What's your expectations, mate?
Hi Andy. Hey everyone at home. Yeah, I'm not sure what to be thinking about tonight. Obviously last week we were over in Gilles Villeneuve across the pond in Canada for that hour-long race. It got a little bit messy at times, and to imagine that we're now going to these 3 15-minute races, it's only going to get messier surely. But like you said, it's a wider circuit. It's the third of the Grand Prix circuits that we're doing in a row, having done already Spa and Canada. So hopefully that wider element should mean we're not going to lose any cars in the barriers or off to the side of the track. Certainly I'm hoping for that. 3 clean races tonight, 3 action-packed races.
Definitely, and we welcome Seb into the box for his very first commentary. Welcome Seb, and what's your experience around Hockenheim?
Thank you very much. Delighted to be here watching this amazing racing tonight. Yes, I've commentated on many races around Hockenheim, my favourite being a Porsche Cup race, which was pretty crazy, and with the Mazdas being kind of similar, you know, no traction control, no ABS, I think we're going to have a very similar race tonight. I just love these Mazdas. I always love watching them race. You can race so tight. I mean, it's almost like NASCAR pack racing, and it always brings a massive smile to my face when I get to watch the Mazdas racing.
Definitely, and it should be a really entertaining. We've been entertained throughout the whole season, been on very different tracks throughout the season, with the 3 different formats we have here. This is the last of the free 15 minutes, and last season we did come to Hockenheim on the shorter National A circuit, so the guys have been able to stretch their legs here tonight on the Grand Prix circuits. Adam, do you want to take us through the current standings within the 3 championships, and let's see what action and fighting is going to be going on tonight?
I'd love to. As ever, I seem to say this every single week, obviously, because Ferrari is dominating the championship. He's at the top, number 1 there in the pro category with 1138 points on the board. Trying to keep him honest, Marcelo Pagnan currently running in second for SRC Mivano course, and Predislav Martina, as ever, in third. Making up the rest of the pro drivers, Orizio Principato, Paul Hayden, Enrico Musumeci second last time out at Canada, even Pinocchio and Dan Skinner are 8 drivers highlighted in red in the pro category. And in green, the Pro-Am drivers, currently led by Jakub Zicki with 859 points, a much closer championship here, as you can see. Barlojo just a matter of 12 points behind, and Christian Lepper a further 21 off the back of that. Bartolomej Kedzia currently holds 4th for Media Click Racing, with Aya Mantis, Ronald Moons, Rafael Lesney making up the top 7, with Al McCain, Nathan Maxman and Thor Tulo rounding out your 10 Pro-Am drivers. And to finish with our AM category drivers, just 9 drivers in this selection. Jens Goosens leading the way ahead of Tom Bingham. Both drivers had trouble last time out at Canada, but managed to pick up enough points so as not to lose too much ground to each other. Russ Fowler, our winner last time out for the AM drivers. Damien McMullen currently in 4th for Formula Nonsense. Simon Serrano, Noyes de Kuiper, Jay Walsh in 7th ahead of Ian May, and Yves Fredericks rounds out our standings.
There's our standings coming into the penultimate round of this championship. 12 rounds of action-packed racing, nearly ahead of us here, and we are currently on round number 11. Around a very iconic track, and we're halfway through qualifying at the moment, and we see Pagnan at the front of the field with a 157.73. Then we have a big selection of Pro-Am drivers there, with the top Pro-Am driver stuck in 6th place there, Serrano in 6th place. But what is interesting around this track, Seb, is how the power of the slipstream is really going to come into effect, and coming around qualifying is going to be all important that you try and get that slipstream, certainly coming down the parabolica.
It certainly is. I mean, it's so crucial in any cars, but especially cars that maybe sort of lack the power, and the Mazda certainly fits in to that category. I mean, we're watching the footage at the moment, and it looks more like a race than it does a qualifying session. Everybody is battling to be the second car in the pack, which is why it doesn't look like a race, because everybody's sort of being very kind and just sort of letting off the throttle a bit. We're seeing almost Formula One Monza tactics out there. So, I mean, it's amazing how much the drivers are having to think about a qualifying lap. I mean, they have to prepare the tyres, they have to prepare the slipstream to get that ultimate lap in. In Pagnan, certainly so far has nailed that, going straight to the top of the timing stands. But I saw Roberto Ferrari being quite happy to sort of lead a pack. So he certainly doesn't feel like he needs the slipstream at the moment. And there is something to be said for being at the front of a pack, or being by yourself, for getting that clean lap, not having anybody make a mistake, as we see the 171 car doing on screen. You know, you're not around that. You're not around anybody making a mistake. You can just have the, you know, you have all the sight lines into the apexes, and sometimes that can be better. So I think we will see sort of diversions of strategy, but I think the slipstream strategy will ultimately be the quickest if you can nail it.
Certainly will be, you know, but you've also got to be aware, obviously, doing that slipstream effect, as we're watching Serrano trying to get around Fowler coming down to the hairpin, is exactly that. You've got overspeed coming into a corner. You're going to have to come off that racing line to try and overtake the car in front that you're trying to slipstream. So, you know, it has its pros and cons, being out on your own or slipstreaming, but certainly the team effect comes into it as we see the top of the grid, the Hyperon Motorsport we saw earlier on, going in a trio around the track, currently taking pole position. So Zicki there at the top with a 157.55, and his teammate Martina there right behind him with a 157.63. So as we can see there, like the free trio, the Hyperon Motorsports team, doing it really well. And unfortunately, in practice, the fastest drivers were two other pit lane starters tonight, Ivan Pinocchio and Maurizio Principato, unfortunately having a pit lane start, but they were doing a 157.1 around this track. So I expect them to be coming through the field, certainly from the back, from that pit lane start.
Yeah, last time out we had Principato coming from the pit lane, didn't we? Trying to climb as high as he could. He did a pretty stellar job as well, getting into, I think it was 7th in the end, was it not? This time it's a different kettle of fish. He's got to make up places in the first race and then hope to benefit from some reverse grid slots to get up the front, maybe pick up a win later in the evening.
Certainly has, but a bit of a change of fortune. Tom Bingham was 8th in practice overall with a 157, but as always, sort of struggling around here, and really needs to make sure that he tries to get that point advantage over his title rival in the AM category, Jens Goosens, who's managed to put in a 158.26. So Tom can go a lot faster than that, but just needs to try and get that perfect qualifying lap. Only a minute left to do, and time is drastically running out.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how many drivers haven't set a lap time yet. There's at least 8 drivers sat there. They can't all have pit lane starts, can they? And it's not really a circuit that you'd expect to have 1Xs off on your qualifying lap. Maybe it's into turn 1 if you overcook it over the curbs on the exit.
I mean, the pit lane starters tonight are the ones that haven't set a lap, so believe it or not, it is that. So we've got Damien McMullen, Niels de Cupra, Maurizio Principato, Ivan Pinocchio, Rafael Nesdi, and Yves Fredericks are all our pit lane starters. Only for race 1, and then everybody will take the grid for race 2 and 3. So the reverse grid for positions for race 2 and 3 is 13 for race 2. And race 3 will be 10 positions, so that always adds to a little bit of spice. And I don't know, Seb, if you've ever been in a grid where you've had reverse grids?
I certainly have, and it's such an interesting dynamic. And you almost, if you're at sort of the end of a first race, and you're sort of on that border, you always try and sort of make sure that you get the reverse grid pole. It's so important.
Certainly is. But over to the grid to you, Adam.
Thank you very much. Jakub Zerdski, our Pro-Am driver, decides that he's going to show up all the Pro drivers and qualify on pole with a 157.5, the number 166 for Hyperion. Alongside him is his teammate Przemysław Martina, just a matter of 800ths between them, ahead of Christian Lepper in 3rd and Marcel Pagnon on 4th. Roberto Ferrari can only claim the lead spot on the 3rd row of the grid. He's in 5th, ahead of Enrico Musumeci. Paul Hayden lines up 7th for Old Timer Racing, and Michael Lees, our first AM driver on the grid, in 8th place. Jens Goosens looking to tighten his grasp on the championship there in 9th place, ahead of Matteo Barlojo. Bartolomej Kedzia in 11th in the number 112, and Simon Serrano in 12th position. Only a second separating the top 12 drivers there. Ronald Moons qualifies 13th, ahead of Archie Thornhill. Archie Mantis in 15th with Russ Fowler, last time's AM driver winner, in 16th. Tom Bingham in 17th. He's got some places to make up to catch Jens tonight in the race 1. David Clasper in 18th with Lee Shields 19th. Ian Mate lines up 20th, and Tony Pearman, the last of our drivers to set a time, in 21st. Remaining drivers coming out of the pits: Ivan Pinocchio, Orazio Principato, Rafael Lesney, Damien McMullen, Niels de Cuyper, Yves Frederick, Jay Walsh, and last but not least, in 29th is Alan McCain.
So there we have it, our 29 car grid tonight. It's going to be entertaining, and it's all important in these 15-minute races to try and keep it clean around the first part of the section. We'll probably see quite a few incidents. Turn 1 will be okay, but it's pretty much after turn 1 where it goes into narrow down into turn number 2 that certainly might play a little bit of action in this grid. But just waiting for the timer to run out with our pit lane starters. We do have the maximum time on the grid as we start getting our lights coming on now for race number 1. 15 minutes ahead of us, around about 6-7 laps, and the lights are out and we are go. And Zeki managing to get a good start with his teammate alongside him. We can see there all the Hyperon Sport team all the way out front, so they've got great coverage with the team. But so Zicki managing to keep that pole position at the moment, to keep the #1 spot with Martina in second, Napella in third. So all the grid managing to get round turn #1. We can see how much the track narrows into here. So currently driving on board with Paul Hayden as we come down to turn 2, as we come down the Parabolica for the first time. So we'll see the power of this slipstream effect coming down here. The 3 Hyperon teammates out front 1, 2 and 3, but we see there Jens Goosen's going off slightly wide. That's exactly what Tom Bingham needed for Jens to do, and he manages to get in front of him. So Jens goes from 8th on the grid down to P14.
I was amazed to see Martina and Zerdzicki go side by side into turn 1 as teammates. You'd have thought they'd have got it all in a line as soon as possible. First time down to the hairpin now. Oh, and everyone's using the outside. Oh, sideways, 3 wide. Oh, I thought people were going to end up in the patenting the wrong way for a second there. Everyone making liberal use of the off run on the outside there as Nalepa goes side by side with Ferrari through the King. Oh, we've got 75 spinning out. That's Pagnan. Oh, and further contact. That's Ferrari going round.
Oh no, all the trials and tribulations coming down into the Mercedes turn 8 there. Couple of big name spinners there as we see them piling down the order at the moment. Ferrari managing still keep it there in 10th place, but battling quite hard with the Hyperon team. I mean, Seb, that was just a crazy first part of the lap and it's still not over yet.
Certainly isn't. Down towards Sachs curve. Nobody making a move at the moment, but it was a clean start up front, at least for the first few corners. I did note that a few of the drivers that we did thought to have a pit lane start did take the start at Walsh and Cooper were the 2 that I spotted. So will we see some extra penalties? We'll have to see, and I'm sure the stewards will be having a gander at those 2 starting from the grid slots.
I think they actually were starting for the grid. I don't think they did have the pit lane start here for race 1, so I think they'll get away with it as we go into the second lap here. Around that first turning, you can literally see the cars clipping that inside curve, getting 2 wheels off the ground coming around turn #1. So great viewing on screen, but you can see Ferrari there had a really good start, was battling with the Hyperons team members up in front, trying to mix it up, and unfortunately got caught out coming down into the Mercedes. So he's on a fight back into P10. Doesn't really need to do a lot. He's pretty much got this championship in the pro standings in the bag, with his 2 drop rounds being 2 second places. So he certainly can't be beaten in that pro #1 spot. So certainly just out here in the last 2 rounds to have a little bit of fun out on track.
Meanwhile, Martinez snatched the lead away from his teammate Zerdzicki, down on the run down into turn 6. Decides that he's going to lead the team effort now. Meanwhile, Nalepa and Hayden this time are side by side through the King into Mercedes. Hayden's got the inside, he's got the high ground. Deep on the brakes. Oh, but he's overshot it a little bit. Nalepa's going to do the switch back on him, and then we're going to switch back in the opposite direction. But Nalepa's got it done, and Musumeci's going to make advantage as well. Hayden drops the position where he was trying to gain one, and now he's got to go defensive from Barlojo as well. We go on board with Barlojo. Hayden's around here somewhere. There he is. Manages to maintain 5th for now, but that little bit of battling, it's let the first 2 get away.
Yeah, as we come into the in-tight stadium part of the section, the track really narrows coming in through turn 11 mobile 1 down into Sachs. All through here, so pretty much single file the guys have to go, but I'm pretty sure when we get towards the 15-minute marker, the guys will be trying to make their last ditch moves coming down into turn number 15 and trying to get that overshot through the Sud curve as turn 16. But currently on lap number 3 of the first 15-minute race, 4 minutes down, and certainly be entertaining, Seb.
It really has. Just been enjoying sort of Mr. Becky with this sort of rear camera angle, how much curb he took on the apex of turn 1, just showing how much he's pushing at the moment. And we're just seeing sort of how if you sort of make a mistake when you try and overtake somebody, if you sort of lock a brake or go too deep, it can really cost you. And that's exactly what happened to Hayden. He's down 2 spots, and but we're going to see again the number 17 trying to overtake the 127 car down towards the hairpin. What's going to happen? Can Hayden make up the spots that he's lost just one lap ago?
Yeah, definitely. Musumeci getting down the inside there in the hairpin, pretty much putting Napella out of the fray, but the real advantage at the moment for the front two drivers is that
Fowler's around. Sorry to cross you, Andy. Fowler, he's gone round at the hairpin. He was up in 8th, he's down in 14th.
Bingham's also dropping down the timing stands. I think they might have both had a bit of a coming together.
Sorry guys, we've got further contact on screen. Nalepa, Musumeci, Hayden, all over the place into the Mercedes. Clearly that's the action spot for tonight.
Certainly is. So yeah, Nalepa up to 3rd, Hayden in 4th place now. All change at the front of the field.
We get a replay of what actually happened to Russ Fowler. It's coming down to the hairpin here. The car 273 is the one we're looking out for. Ferrari trying to go up the inside. Oh, an uncharacteristic thing there from Ferrari, hitting the back of Russ Fowler, coming around the hairpin. And Russ Fowler, luckily there, not getting collected by Pagnan, but losing, as we can see there. Oh, in the background there, just saw Tom Bingham doing a 360 in the air. Let's have a look at what happened to Tom Bingham here, coming down into the same corner, into the hairpin, really saw the brakes, and oh, did he get punted from behind? Oh, little side swipe. I'm not sure who that was.
Archie Thornhill.
Archie Thornhill just sideswiped Tom Bingham. Musumeci as well. What happened to him coming down into Mercedes? Tried to took that inside line here, the tight line. And oh, Paul Hayden, a really unorthodox move. Unfortunately, Musumeci did actually spin it before there. So we had Musumeci doing a spin on track and Paul Hayden taking the bar route on the inside of Mercedes. So wow, all action in 2 corners there.
More rallycross than it is road racing at the moment. We have to say that Hayden's line worked. It meant that when Musumeci spun, he didn't sort of collect him, but yeah, very unusual to see in a road race.
Certainly is, but
sorry, Andy, I'd say I wouldn't put too much blame at Musumeci's door. I think he was watching Hayden in his mirrors, you know. He was going for the apex and then realised Hayden was a little bit out of control, aiming for the grass up the inside, and decided to give him a little bit more room, and unfortunately it bit him when he contacted his driver on his outside. As we join him now, he's back down in 9th place. He's got Ferrari ahead of him, Pagnan behind. There they are on screen, coming into the stadium section.
It's all been put on its head this race as we look at the time and type. Ferrari going extremely around. A lot of cars. I mean, these Mazdas are really forgiving if you do get off track on them, not like the GT3s or GT4 cars on there. If you touch a bit of grass, you sort of spin about 720 on the grass. These Mazdas can take a little bit of off-track punishment before the cars actually do spin here. But you can see the timing tower, real big shake-up. The pros seem to be getting involved in a lot of incidents. We've got Ferrari in 8th, Musumeci in 9th with a spin down at Mercedes. Pagnan in 11th, and Pinocchio has quietly made his way back up to P11 from that pit lane start, obviously taking over from where he had in Oran Park and making steady progress and just off the back of Pagnan at the moment. So these 4 pros just fighting it out for the mere place of P8 overall, and the Pro-Ams have really got a stranglehold of this first race. 8 minutes 42 seconds down, probably around another 3 laps to go in this race, including this one. So it's going to be an entertaining last three laps.
Yeah, you mentioned the pros getting into trouble. What about the AMs getting into trouble? We've lost Jens Goosens. He's down in 28th place at the moment, and we've seen Tom Bingham flying through the air. So it's trouble for all categories at the moment. As we're on board with Pinocchio, he's already claimed 11 places. He thinks he can get past these 3 now as well. Unfortunately for him, it is the pro drivers, top of the standings, Ferrari, Musumeci and Pagnan. And they're all fighting hard as once again we come down into Mercedes. It's the trouble spot. Keep your fingers crossed, boys, that they're going to get through it this time.
Musumeci just trying that inside line there to try and put off Pagnan down into Mercedes, but Pagnan, being a very experienced driver, wasn't falling for that, and luckily Musumeci managed to still keep his line, but under extreme pressure there from Pinocchio, managing to get that 10th place off Musumeci. But the side-by-side now coming down into Sachs turn 12, with Musumeci will have that inside line. Pagnan, Pinocchio trying to get the cutback, but unfortunately there is really only one line through that turn number 12 at Sachs. But Pinocchio pushing Musumeci as far as he can, and I wouldn't put it past him to try and get that 10th place and maybe get even higher with the fighting that the pros are doing at the moment.
Yeah, meanwhile, it's serenity defined at the front. Martina and Zerdzicki have got a 4-second lead over anyone else. They're just stroking it home in race 1 tonight. Teammates for Hyperion, no need to fight each other. Just hit your apexes. 5 more minutes even of easy driving. Paul Hayden, meanwhile, he's climbed his way up to 3rd. Nalepa and the Umantis and Barlojo still just about in his draft, so he's not going to pull away from that easy. We might see some more battling for the podium before the night is done in race 1.
So, Seb, what's your findings at the moment with this first broadcast on the Mazda?
Oh, it's craziness. I'm absolutely loving it. I've got a massive smile on my face, and everywhere you look, there's more action. I mean, you've got Pinocchio and Musumeci having a bit of a squabble in the hairpin, and they all decide to take the somewhat racing line. Well, at least it's tarmac this time, rather than Hayden's attempt at turn 8 just a little while ago. They are absolutely just racing, and I just loving this sort of battle between Ferrari, Pagnan, Pinocchio, Musumeci. I mean, you wouldn't have expected the pro drivers to be down in 8th, but they are certainly providing a great battle. But I think Ferrari hasn't had the race he would have liked, made that mistake into the hairpin, took out another driver. So, and it just goes to show, if you don't have the slipstream from the car ahead, you cannot pull away, and we're certainly seeing that as we see Principato on a replay.
Yeah, we saw in the background here, Principato got turned. It looks like he got help from Pearman. Oh, although Pearman might have had a blinking driver in front of him to cause that. Just a little bit of overlap on the rear quarter. No huge damage done, it seems, although these guys are battling for a reverse grid pole, so it could be very, very damaging if they lose positions from where they're currently fighting. Russ Fowler currently holding on to 13th place, the all-important 13th for race 2.
Yeah, I was definitely going to say that. You know, Principato was on that, just one off the bubble spot for the reverse grid foe in 13th position. Unfortunately, there got hit in the rear quarter by Pearman. And unfortunately it spun him out down to 15th place now, 2 seconds off 14th, so maybe the opportunity has gone for him. The current reverse grid pole sitter at the moment is the AM driver of Russ Fowler, so in 13th is on the bubble as a 2-second cushion to Pearman, another AM driver behind him in 14th, so just needs to keep it nice and clean, and he will start race number 2 in that pole position.
As we move back now, focusing on Yves Fredericks in 19th place. He's got Damien McMullen and Jens Klaspers just in front of him. Behind, De Kuyper and Shields are battling as well, and the AM leader Bingham in shot as well. As we head down to the hairpin again, McMullen's on the outside, Clasper on the inside. Battle of the late braking manoeuvres. 2-1-2 claims the high ground on the inside. Oh, but runs in a little bit deep, and Fredericks thinks he's going to have 2 for 1 here, you know. Gets an excellent apex. And now we're 3 wide, heading down to Mercedes. We've got a kink right first, boys. And Claspers claims it. McMullen just round the nose of Fredericks, and they all maintain positions despite some excellent battling there. On lap 7 of a possible 9, we're getting into the closing stages now. They continue to fight through the S's.
It is. Welcome to Mazda 15-minute races here as we watch another replay at the front of the pro grids. We got Pinocchio tried to get on the outside. Pagnan covered that inside line. Pinocchio just sneaked right up the middle. Just taking a little bit too wide, and unfortunately goes to the back of this group of pro drivers. But a very ambitious move there from Ivan to try and get at the middle between it wasn't Musumeci, that was Ferrari and Pagnan. So he managed to get it in, but just couldn't get that car turned into the hairpin in time and loses out. But still on the back of Pagnan there, so we'll make it another effort around this track. So only probably, like you said, 2 laps. Might get that third. I didn't see the white flag being floated, so we'll have 1 more lap to do. But you know, the class act at the moment, and the really advantage of having teammates around you is Martina and Zerdzicki in first and second. They've just streaked away from the field, and you know, they owe a lot of their gap to Napella in 4th place at the moment. Really held up the field to let his teammates get off in front, and that's the power of having teammates around you to act as rear gun markers and let the rest of the team get away.
It certainly is.
The last lap now. Sorry, Seb, just mentioned we are on the last lap. These two have only got a few more corners left to go. Hayden's not going to catch them. He has closed up by about a second over the last couple of laps, but these two are on their final victory lap, waving to the crowds, I imagine, with no pressure from behind them now.
Probably on cruise control. They've had such an easy race. Great job by them, and yeah, I think they owe Napella quite a large beer for holding up the pack, just enough to give them this nice cushion. It's always so lovely when you're in the lead or in second. You've got a cushion behind. You can really just focus on your line and enjoy the driving rather than being stressed behind the wheel.
Yeah, and as we've seen, and obviously as you will see for the first time here, Seb, you know, these 15-minute racings can be extremely hectic. But these two drivers at the front, Martina taking the race win here at race number 1. So Ziki in 2nd place, nice and comfortable, but all far from being comfortable behind. Hayden in 3rd, Napella in 4th, Germantus in 5th, Bartololo in 6th, Ketia 7th. Ferrari manages to win over that battle in the pro section there over Pagnan. Pinocchio in 10th with Musumeci in 11th. Moons in 12th, and your top amateur driver and your pole sitter for race number 2, Russ Fowler, there in 13th. In 14th place, Principato didn't quite manage to make up that 13th place to get there, so we'll start in 14th place. In 15th, we've got Tony Pierman. 16th, Alan McCain, Damien McMullen, David Casper, Niels de Cooper, Yves Fredericks, Lee Shields. Tom Bingham only gets 1 place ahead of his main rivals, Jens Goosens in 23rd. Mikael Lees in 24th, who had excellent qualifying there for race 1, plummets down the field and finishes off in 24th position. Jay Walsh in 25th, Simeon Serrano in 26th, Archie Thornhill in 27th. In 28th, Raphael Lesney, and at the back of the field, Ian May. I mean, what a hectic race there, guys, but a great setup for race 2 and 3.
Certainly is. I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed that one, and Russ Fowler now at the head of the field. He's got a lot of work to do into turn 1, into the first hairpin, if he wants to keep his first position. And just a quick note that I noted from the last race is that if you lose the slipstream from sort of the pack ahead, you're really struggling, and we saw Ferrari do that, so watch out for that in race 2.
Yeah, it definitely is. As Russ Fowler, the AM driver, is heading out this field here for race 2, and has a load of pro-ams and pros behind him, so we'll be feeling the pressure certainly on this first lap. Will the AM driver sat out front, and we have the lights here straight away into the action into race 2. They have 5 red lights, and they are out, and they'll go. Russ Fowler managing to get a decent start off the line, with Moons following close behind him in 2nd place. Musumeci following Russ Fowler through, so maybe able to nick that 2nd place over Moons. Obviously got that along around. Oh, we have a spinner there. We've got a spinner, and it's watch out, guys. This could be carnage as we see the absolute mayhem there. One car spinning around first corner has just done the domino effect right down the field. So we'll just let all the dust settle, guys, and we'll see where they have and who's the biggest movers really there. I mean, you could have gained a lot of positions there if you managed to get through that without any incidents. But out the front, Musumeci has already taken over. Oh, well, as I say that, Russ Fowler trying to fight back. So Musumeci, Russ Fowler, Pagnan there, nearly 3 abreast coming down into the hairpin for the first time. Musumeci has the inside line there over Russ Fowler, so should get the move done. Pagnan pushes, follows Musumeci through quite closely, and I think he has managed to take P2, which he has over Russ Fowler, but Russ Fowler side by side into Pagnan, and if he can keep alongside him, we'll have that inside line coming down to Mercedes, but the amateur driver just yields a little bit to the pro driver and says, you know what, I'm just going to follow you around. But it'll be good once this does settle after this first lap to see what happens. I mean, you can see in the timing tower there, 23rd, Pinocchio in the pit, Ferrari in the pit, Napella in the pit. I mean, we've got some big names there that have gone in the pits. Tony Pierman, Yves Frederick, Lee Shields, Jay Walsh, Ian May, all in the pits from that turn 1 incident.
Absolutely huge. I was just about to come in and say, you know, look at the names that have gone. As I think Archie Thornhill also has had a little bit of an incident later on. Oh, and that's Paul Hayden going facing the wrong way. Oh, and then that's another car to join in, the 2, 3, 4 car of Niels de Cooper there. So people really struggling in the second race. I think they've gained a little bit of confidence from the first race and sort of forgotten that cold tyres are certainly a thing, and they're really those cold tyres really catching up the drivers so far.
Yeah, I think we'll have to wait for the replay to see exactly what happened in the first corner incident. But I imagine what you're going to see is Pinocchio getting a little bit too close to the rear of Ronald Moons, getting a little bit unsighted, going for a spin, and then Ferrari was the next driver behind. It's a miracle, to be quite honest, that we've only had 3 cars join to the pit lane. We've just lost a couple more, though. I think Fredericks has dropped into the pits as well. So we're already down to just the 20 drivers battling it out in race 2. Fowler from the lead down to 3rd. He's going to have a right old job to keep the next few drivers behind him as well. Moons is already setting him up, and it looks like Yamantis wants through as well.
Yeah, definitely lost that slipstream over Pagnan in front, and you can see the power of that slipstream. If you haven't got it, you're certainly a sitting duck for the cars behind you. So he just needs to try and keep it nice and clean. There's going to be argy-bargy coming down into that hairpin as we saw there, but they all take it in a single line formation coming down into Mercedes corner here. But Ronald Moons heads out this long pack of cars here with Fowler, Jamantas, Kenzia, Martinez, Zicki, Principato and McMullen all within this group of cars going in at a huge train all the way from 3rd all the way probably down to 10th place at the moment in this group, with Goossens just off the back there in P12. But I mean, we look at the big movers there. Oh, we got a replay here. Let's see what happened here. Oh, this is the start of it. So we're looking at an overhead view of Pagnan. So we can see Moon there in 2nd place. Musumeci coming alongside him on the inside. And unfortunately, oh no, unfortunately, I think Ivan just managed to get it wrong there. Obviously tried to pull out and just then caused chaos all down the field. I mean, I don't think you'd be able to do anything with that, Lewis. There's cars going off all over the place, but it certainly was caused there by Pinocchio getting very quick into the first corner.
Yeah, I called it a little bit wrong, didn't I? I thought it was Moons maybe being a little bit slow. In fact, it was Pinocchio being too fast in the opening. I think I also saw Tom Bingham going for a spin, 2nd race of tonight. As we just see Jay Walsh there, that was the end of his race as well. Didn't even make it to the 2nd turn, unfortunately. Him and a couple of other drivers are going to be rubbing their aches and bruises until they get back out there and try and avenge themselves in race 3. Obviously, they'll all be coming off the back of the grid, though. Meanwhile, Pagnan and Musumeci down to the hairpin for the 3rd time. Pagnan continues to lead. Musumeci just showing him his nose. Maybe not seeing battling too much just yet. Otherwise, they'll fall into this rattlesnake pit. Look at all these cars coming through the hairpin side by side. At least 8 of them in that battle from 3rd down to 11th.
Thing is that you lose that slipstream, and if you're at the head of the snake, as you would call it, you're a sitting duck for all the cars behind it that will have that slipstream. Certainly down that parabolica, going down there from turn 4 all the way down to turn 6. Such a long, it's a curve, but it's a flat out curve. I wouldn't really call it a curve really, but obviously it has got a number. But it's such a long curve, straight, whatever you want to call it, and basically the slipstream effect on these cars is massive, and you're almost like a sitting duck, as we saw earlier on with Russ Fowler, you know, literally getting swamped by the cars behind him. And that's where Jamantis is at the moment at the front of this field, currently driving on board with Damien Mullen down in 12th place. We can just see how tightly packed the cars are from P3 all the way down to P12, so it's sort of anyone's game at the moment with the slipstream effect that we've got here today. I mean, do you want to call this one, Seb?
I don't think I'd want to call any one of these races so far. They have been crazy. I just sort of wanted to point out, sort of don't underestimate how hard it is to drive in a pack of this many cars. Anybody can make a mistake, lock up a brake, go a little bit wide, and it can cause carnage down the field. So you really have to be, number 23 car kind of proves my points there by almost rear-ending the number 13 car. Principato getting just a little bit too close to race 1 Renault Martina. It's really difficult, and especially if you're towards the back of the pack, you have to be watching so many cars ahead. It's almost hard to be thinking about your own race because you're having to to watch about 5 other races ahead of you. So it's really difficult, and it's so exhausting when you get to the end of the race, especially now we're sort of midpoint of race 2. Already done a little bit of racing as down the inside goes, oh, and that's a car going round, and that's not what we want to see at the hairpin.
Ronald Moons there getting caught up. I think that was with Martina, our race 1 winner there. So exactly illustrating the point there. I think excellently said of close packed racing as we come down here to the hairpin. Russ Fowler taking that tight inside line, but Martina just coming around the outside and clips Ronald Moon there and literally takes them both out. Luckily only collecting them, but a great 180 spin there from Moons to get the car back round into the right position, but certainly a lot of positions lost there. But just looking down the timing chart for the big movers and shakers and who really profited out of that lap 1 incident or turn 1 is Jens Goosens at the moment, up 14 places from where he started, currently in P9th. Obviously Tom Bingham will not be wanting to see him currently there, as Tom is down in P17 for that fight, that big fight over that AM victory. But that's the differences with these 3 15-minute races. You know, it's very unusual to have 3 races in a row where you're on a high. You normally get in some sort of incident in these one of these 3 15-minute races. So as they say, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, and I think that's pretty much how these 15-minute races have gone. You know, we saw Jens Goosens in the first race not having the best around, but certainly has brought a lot of luck here tonight, and currently still in the battle there in P9.
Yeah, I think we should also mention that just in terms of the championship, Martina clearly didn't have his thinking cap on there when he got involved in that incident. He's already seen his 2 main rivals in Ferrari and Pagnan have a bad race 1, and then just to fulfill his dreams even further, Ferrari's out of this one, so all he had to do was finish somewhere in the top 5, and he'd have been taking massive points out of the 2 leaders in the series, and now he's got himself involved in an incident. He might not even get reversed to the front. Meanwhile, we've got cars everywhere once again down at the hairpin. Principato, Kedzia, Fowler, side by side. Umantis has climbed his way up to 3rd. These boys got to sort it out before we get to Mercedes. Russ Fowler doing his absolute best work here tonight to hang on to these top spots. I did fear that he might, as soon as he lost 1 or 2 positions, he might start falling rapidly, but he's giving as good as he's getting tonight.
Oh, that was a close one there with a fella coming around that corner. I thought there might have been a slight bit of contact, but there must have been a paper's width of distance between the 2 drivers as we jump on board with Kedzia, currently in P6 with Russ Fowler just in front of him. I mean, it's so hard to call these races. Oh, nearly getting into the back of Russ Fowler there, coming into Sachs, just coming out and just backing out just enough to not hit the 273 car of Russ Fowler. He's done a really good job there, currently in 5th place. You can get overawed with having all these pros and pro-am drivers around you trying to barge your way through you, but he's taking this race 2 by the scruff of the neck, and at the moment is doing an excellent job there in P5, our top am driver.
He certainly is. He's really, you know, he's not feeling the pressure of the cars behind. He's driven really smartly, and you know, I don't think he had the pace to sort of hold the drivers ahead of him, but he's certainly, you know, putting the car exactly where he needs to be. He's not defending where he doesn't need to be, not costing himself sort of time in the long run. Great driving by Fowler, sort of proving, you know, that if you know, with these reverse grid races, you really need to think smart, and he's certainly doing that. And yeah, great points haul for him so far.
Yeah, certainly is. And as like the first race, the front 2 are 4 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. So these it seems to be the way of tonight's races. The front 2 get away, and then you have this epic battle for behind him from 3rd. All the way down the field, you know, as they're battling out, gives the opportunities for the front 2 to work together to try and get away. So we've currently got Pagnan 2nd in the Pro Championship, in 1st place in this race. Musametri, who was 2nd in last season's standings in the pros, hasn't had the best of seasons, but certainly wants to go out on a high at the moment. But certainly the battle at the moment is for the P3 position. At the moment being held by Principato. Jamantis there in 4th place. Kedzia just behind him. Fowler just managed to lose another place down to 6th. Zicki in 7th. 2nd of the AMs, Jens Goosens there in 8th, and Barcelona there in 9th place. The current pole sitter for race number 3 is being held by Damien McMullen, our fellow Irishman, the ever-cheery McMullen is in 10th place, and he does have a little bit of a cushion over Martina, the pro driver behind him. So just need to try and keep it nice and clean, Damien, and get on that front of that grid. So you can come in the comms box and gloat that you went on the front of the grid in race 3.
Yeah, I was about to mention that one. That's the big battle brewing, I think. He's got Martina and Hayden a matter of 3 seconds behind. Now these two have been battling rather than focusing on chasing McMullen down, and McMullen has obviously got the benefit of a little bit of slipstream ahead of him as well, which might play the pivotal part in keeping him in 10th place and claiming that front row start for race 3. Martina and Hayden, they're about half a second a lap quicker than him under current conditions, and they're just not going to get there with only 2 laps left to remain, unless of course we see some further battling from the drivers in front of him, and who's to say that won't happen with 7 cars pretty much nose to tail running down to the hairpin once again. Focusing on Russ Fowler down in 6th at the moment, still the lead AM driver. He's got Zerdzicki directly behind him, and then his closest rival, Jens Goossens, leader of the AM Championships. Oh, as we're getting a little bit deep there, Fowler, right under the rear bumper of Kedzia, but keeps it clean for now.
Yeah, just
what was quite amazing there was Principato managed to keep that 3rd spot coming down, considering he gave away the slipstream to Germantas. So a great line, probably turned an alternate line, and unfortunately Germantas didn't tuck up behind the Principato in 3rd place, and he managed to keep it. So a great bit of skill there to keep ahead, certainly down that extra long Parabolica straight.
Certainly indeed. Just wanted to pick up on what a great job Jens Goossen has done in the 2nd race. He was struggling through practice, couldn't find the time, but I mean, is up 15 places from his starting position in race 2, only 2 positions behind his nearest AM rival in Russ Fowler. I mean, great job by Goossens, and he'll be starting towards the front of the field for race 3. So yeah, real turnaround of so far through this sort of race.
Certainly has, and you can see this battle on screen now for that 3rd place. Principato currently leading out this big long line of cars. You've got 3 cars slightly making a break for it, but that will be closed down coming down the Parabolica straight if Russ Fowler can keep behind Kedzia. But he is under a lot of pressure there from Zerdzicki in 7th place, so trying to look at his inside. These two need to work together, not lose that slipstream of the Kedzia in front, or else these 4 cars I'm currently watching on screen will be fighting out. Jens Goossens tucked up behind the rear bumper of Zerdzicki, just pulls out maybe a little bit too early, but trying to get alongside him to get that inside line coming down into the hairpin. We'll have that side draft over him, but we come back to the front of this battle for P3. Principato still managing to keep, and I'm not sure how he's doing it, but going extremely deep into that hairpin, using all of the runoff for the track, just trying to keep Germantas at bay there in 4th place.
We are on the last lap again though, boys. Lap 8, halfway through. These guys are playing for keeps now. Any moves they can get done, that's going to be their final positions as we go down into Mercedes for the final time. Oh, deep on the brakes, in contact, and round goes Goossens. Goossens, he's going to be outside the top 10, is he? Where are these 2? Martina's coming by, Hayden's coming by. Oh, Jens Goossens, that is not how he wanted to end race 2.
It certainly isn't, and crucially Hayden is in that magical 10th place at the moment, so he's got past Martina when it counts. But Goossens, I was just saying how much of a good race he had, and there is a big battle between Hayden and Martina for the reverse grid pole.
Certainly is. Old oh! Nearly took out the 1st place there, coming Musumeci into the last corner there into turn 15, but managing to keep the car was Pac-Man. So Pac-Man is your race 2 winner. Musumeci in 2nd. This epic battle for 3rd is going to be won by Principato. Germantas in 4th. Kedzia 5th. Fowler in 6th. On top of the hammer. Great drive there from Russ. Zerdzicki in 7th. Bartolomeo in 8th. Damien Mullen will start 2nd on the grid there in P9, so a great result for him. Martina managing to get that reverse grid pole just over Paul Hayden in 11th. Jens Goossens, after that terrible spin on that last lap, goes from 8th overall down to P12, so just outside the reverse grid. Lisa in 13th, Moons 14th, Casper 15th, Leslie 16th, Bingham in 17th, Serrano 18th, McCain 19th, Napella in 20th, and then we got the guys that are a lap down, Ferrari, Toyota Cupra, Pinocchio and Frederick still fighting it out on track. Ferrari just trying to get the positions, literally a lap down these guys are from that lap 1 incident. Can Ferrari manage to get a piece? Oh, he goes extremely wide there, coming out of Sachs, doing a little bit of sideways curve, and he's just enjoying, I think, this round. He knows he's got the championship strapped up. We'll be a little bit frustrated what happened in that first turning, but I think overall, in the grand scheme of things, he won't be too bothered about it, but always wants to be at the front. But he's seen it from the other end of the field, Adam, from the back.
Yeah, these guys did actually end up on the lead lap, amazingly, despite their incidents. So didn't manage to lose a lap. Whether they actually came through the pits for repairs or just drove it home with whatever damage they were carrying. Our last couple of drivers, Pearman and May, come across the line now. 27 finishers in all, out of a possible 29. And are we going to see the results pop up for that race too?
Guess not. So what we'll do is we'll go to a quick advert break from one of our sponsors, and we'll look at the results when we come back. Oh, the results are up. We did manage to get there in the end. So on first place, we had Marcello Pagna managing to get it just over the ever-encroaching Enrico Musumeci in second. Principato in third. Jamantas, Kezia, Marla, Zaziki, Bartologo, Damian McMullen, and Martina round out your top 10, and that is your reverse grid for race number 3. Paul Hayden just outside in 11th, Jens Goosen in 12th, Michael Lees in 13th, Ronald Moons 14th, David Clasper 15th, Raphael Leslie in 16th, Tom Bingham in 17th, Simeon Serrano ends up in 18th place. In 19th, we've got Alan McCain, 20th, Chris in Napella, 21st, unusual for him, Roberto Ferrari, Lee Shields, 22nd and 23rd, Niels de Cooper, Ivan Pinocchio in 24th, East Fredericks, Tony Pierman, Ian May, and rounding out the field is Jay Walsh, who is Archie Thornhill is in 29th. So there rounds out the field of 29 cars here for race number 2. The drivers have a 5-minute breather. So what we'll do is we'll go for a quick advert from one of our sponsors, and we'll be back here shortly for race number 3.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers, including Peter Berryman, John Robertson, Brandon Trano, and IndyCar World Champion Alex Palou. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Apex Racing TV. Just ahead of race 3 here around at Hockenheim, we've had an excellent first 2 entertaining race, as always, in these 3 15-minute races in the Mazda Cup. But that was an advert from one of our sponsors, Virtual Racing School. So improve your on-track performance with 50 Pluck Data Pack, Road and Oval Racing, setups, track guides, data analysis software, and one-to-one coaching, head over to virtualracingschool.com. And going nicely along with that is one of our second sponsors, Apex Racing Academy. They've got 29 data packs, setup, track guides. It's fully integrated with VRS, weekly group coaching sessions, plus many more. Head over to apexracingac.com for more information and packages that they can provide. But guys, obviously we can catch your breath here in this sort of 5-minute interlude before race number 3. How's your first couple of races in the Mazda Cup been for you, Seb?
Let's put it this way, I'm very happy that I had some emergency chocolate next to me so I can gather a little bit of energy. Absolute craziness. As I've been saying, I've just smiling and just enjoying the racing so much, and yeah, just finding it great. And the 3 races really allows everybody that has a difficult race 1 to come back and race 2, and it also punishes people for making a mistake. Apart from Martina, who we saw not have the best move into the hairpin, but they've ended up starting on reverse grid pole. So maybe sometimes it pays a little bit to make a small mistake, but maybe you can't make big mistakes, I think I'll have to amend my statement too.
Yeah, definitely. Managing to get the look of the gods there, Martina, winner in race number 1. Managing to get that reverse grid position for race number 2, so we'll be at the front of the grid for race number 3. And if these first 2 races are anything to go by, the first 2 that manage to get away normally do get away from the field, and we have the ensuing battles in race number 3. I don't know if you want to call this one, Adam, or who you think's going to win race number 3.
Well, I think it's pretty hard to look past Martina, isn't it, really? He won race 1 tonight, he's clearly got the pace, and now he's on the front row of the grid. And as I mentioned it, here is the grid. Branislav Martina claims the first position for race 3 tonight. He beat off Paul Hayden by a matter of 400ths at the end of that race, so very lucky to claim first. Damien McMullen is alongside him on the front row, with Matteo Balolojo in 3rd, and Jakub Zerdzicki, our race 1 pole sitter, in 4th. Russ Fowler, top of the AM category, second in the AM category, starting 5th. Bartolomej Kedzia in 6th, ahead of Ias Humantis and Orazio Principato in 8th. Enrico Musumeci and Marcelo Pagnan make up row 5, with Paul Hayden in 11th, and Jens Goossens missing out on the reverse grid, going to start 12th, still ahead of his big rival Tom Bingham.
We just get ready here. The lights are starting to come on for race number 3. No time to go over the rest of the grid. Come thick and fast, these races, and they're away. Is that a jump start from Martina, or is that the most epic start you're going to see in a Mazda? But he is well away from McMullen there in 2nd place, Barlojo in 3rd. So what a flying start there from Martina. It'd be interesting to see if he has to do a drive-through friendly, but he's already got a massive lead over the rest of the field there. Bartolozzo coming alongside McMullen. McMullen's got that inside line coming down into turn number 2, but yielding the place there to Bartolozzo. Just going to tuck in behind. He needs to try and find that gap on the inside, try and get the slipstream off some cars in front. He does have Ketchuban, and we have a car off the background. I think that was DeCooper Lees as well, going off into the background there. So Shields may be out as well. So DeCooper was one of the casualties. So relatively quiet 3rd lap. It's normally where the hand grenade pin really gets thrown and go in, but here we go, 3 wide between Tom Bingham. I think that is Jens Goossens and Simeo Serrano, and Jens Goossens gets spun around there at the hairpin, and is piling down the positions now in the back of the field in P23 at the moment. So it's something that Tom wants to see. Certainly a lot of places between himself and Goossens as they come down into the Mercedes corner for the first time. Ferrari managing to get himself back up to P10th. The guy is relentless on his speed here, so probably end up being round about the front of this grid towards the end of this race. But Martina perhaps been pegged back a little bit, only 0.2 of a second off of Bartologio in the 2nd place, with Zerdzicki in 3rd, coming down into Sachs for the first time. Labella getting on the inside of Ronald Moon, so a nice little move there. Fowler staying in 9th, but I think something's happened to Fowler, coming down to 10th, probably just got overtaken there by the super fast Ferrari, who's up to P9th, and I think that is Martina, he did do a jump start there on lap 1. Terrible for him. I think we've had that second time this season. I think the first time was yourself, Tom. Sorry to bring that up, mate. But Tom, obviously at the front of the grid. I think it was in Spa for race number 3. Was at the front and did a jump start, but I thought that was a really quick start from Martina at the start.
It certainly looked like it. Martina sort of darted a little bit on the line. I think realised that he did jump the start, tried to stop, and yeah, it's reminiscent of what we see in Formula 1 sometimes when they might have reacted to something else that they've seen and they go because you're anticipating the lights changing as we're 3 wide down the straight towards the hairpin now. Fowler wanting to get involved in this to make it 4 wide. Will he dare? Let's find out.
Yeah, we've got Ferrari on the outside there. Ferrari in a not ideal situation. Looks like he's managed to outbrake his 2 rivals though. Goes right round the outside. Oh, and right out onto the exit curbing as well. Keeps his momentum up. He's up into 6th place, which is an excellent gain of 15 positions already. We're not even at the end of lap 2.
That was an insane start. I don't know how he does it. But obviously coming from the back of the field, just probably thought, you know what, I'll fancy see what it's like coming from the back of the field through the pack, and he's certainly getting that here in race number 3. But Damien McMullen struggling a little bit, getting a bit bullied by the Pro and the Pro-Am drivers in front of him, down to P8, only just slightly ahead of Russ Fowler, as we can see on screen at the moment. But we've got Hayden just jinxing behind Russ Fowler, just trying to get that position, probably try and put it up onto the inside of Sachs. Just thinks better of it, backs it out and saves it for another day. But Paul Hayden itching to get past the 2 AM drivers in front of him of McMullen and Fowler.
Yeah, we'll come down to the end of lap 2. We've already lost 3 drivers in the form of Lees, Shields and De Kuiper. I think someone brought a giant magnet and placed it on the inside of Parabolica because they all exited stage left on the opening lap, didn't they? Whoa, as over the curves goes Ferrari, claims another position off Kedzia into turn 1. Many of the drivers are taking a few liberties with that curb on the inside there. I'm just waiting to see someone on the roof before the night's out. At the moment, everyone's managed to land it back down safe and sound. Ferrari now setting his eyes in front of him, although Kedzia's not going to let him get away that easy. Immediately right under the rear bumper as we go on board with him. He looks to pull out, does he? Got a little bit more time under the slipstream. And pulls out to the right hand side, although maybe not the best time in there. He seems to have lost a little bit doing that. Still, he's going to have a braking contest with Ferrari. Oh, down into the tightest hairpin. Ferrari has to get out of it a little bit, but continues in 5th place. Kedzia pulls back in behind. Musumeci must be around here somewhere as well. There he is. He's using the grass to try and get an overlap. Switches sides. Kedzia moves defensive into Mercedes now. Musumeci is going to be late on the brakes, is he? He is, but Kedzia is later and makes the apex. Excellent work to maintain 6th place overall there.
And while we've been watching that, Zadzicki has taken the lead. He is your new race leader. Of course, the driver there finished 2nd in the first race and started from pole, showing his pace once again. And let's see, can he extend this gap? And he's got quite a few angry drivers behind him, all within that crucial slipstream range. So this race for the lead isn't over, and the amount of cars that are separated by less than a second. I mean, this gaggle goes down to P at 7 with Musumeci. So I don't think you can count out anybody in the top 7 to win this one.
Not, and it's not going to Formia, the front 2 and not managing to get away. So this is a battle for the overall lead of race number 3. And like you said, Zadzicki having an excellent 3rd race. I'm not sure where he was in the 2nd race, but in the first race had an excellent 2nd place overall. So doing an excellent day's racing. As we said, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, and Zadzicki is certainly on for that trend at the moment, leading at this field, getting a little bit of gap over Bartolomeo in 2nd place, but he does have his teammate Principato behind him in 3rd, so does have some sort of rear coverage over the ever-present Germantis there in 4th place. But I mean, look at Ferrari, 5th place, up 16 places in this race. It just shows what the man can do, having a little bit of luck and getting around that first couple of laps unscathed. Probably a little bit hairier than he would like to be, but yeah, challenging for 4th place overall, and makes it look so easy as he gets right up to the back of Principato, and even tries to pull out to try and take that, and he might be side by side here with Principato for 3rd place overall. Principato managing to keep that nose slightly in front, and we'll have the inside line, but Ferrari just chucking it around as they come down here into Mercedes. Germanta's trying to go down the inside, managing to get the move, sneaking a little move there on Ferrari, and Musumeci manages to take them both. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. I thought he was going to follow through, but obviously backed out from his teammates. But what a great move there from Germantas.
Yeah, and I think I think you're just about to point out there, I think there's been a little bit of contact into the hairpin.
Oh, it looks like it's more than a little, doesn't it? That's Pagnan getting beaten and bashed around. But yeah, and then down to the hairpin, I saw in the background we had about 4 cars suddenly parked on the apex. Here we are. We're watching nose to Kuiper now. This is on the approach. There's Pagnan off to one side. Oh, driver in the fence. Oh no, this was lap 1, wasn't it? This was our 3 drivers who all suddenly approached the inside barrier for seemingly no reason. Obviously, as I mentioned, big magnet been placed down there for whatever reason that attracted those guys into the wall. And now our next replay. This is what was going off at the hairpin in the background, I think. We've got McMullen and...
Pinocchio!
Oh no, it's Pinocchio into Hayden, isn't it? And then the leopard. When they all just about get away with it. Few bent spoilers and bonnets, but otherwise no real harm, thankfully, for those 3.
Certainly no love lost there, and Pinocchio obviously looking like he was at blame there, trying to take that inside line, took far too much speed, hit into the back of Hayden. But we join back up to the front of this race at the moment for the battle for 1st place, like you were saying, Zeb, from 1st all the way down to 7th place, just in a long train at the moment. Zicki at the head of it, Bartologo in 2nd, Principato in 3rd, Germantas in 4th, Ferrari in 5th, Musumeci, his teammate, in 6th place, and just off the back of this grid, as you can see there, the white and blue car of Kenzia. But all to play for in this down, and like you were saying, one slightly mistake from the driver in front, and it just caused that domino effect down the field, considering how close these cars are to each other.
That was Ferrari diving down the inside of turn 8 on Germantas, so he is up to 4th place. You seriously cannot count him out for the race win here after a disastrous race 2 and a pretty disastrous race 1, in fact. It's a really good turnaround from our championship leader so far, up 17 places from his starting position. Great job by him. However, he's got to get past Principato up ahead of him, and he's not going to be easy. And he's going to have to do it if he wants this race win, or if he even wants to be on the podium. But Zicki doing a great job so far in the lead, doing exactly what he needs to do, just keep it clean, keep it smooth, out in the lead. And he is susceptible down the straights, but if you're a little bit braver on the brakes, and as long as you make the apex, you can kind of counteract the slipstream. So yeah, he's certainly doing that so far. But Musumeci in 6th certainly still has a chance of winning this race, and it's almost one of the best places to be on track, because you just get to watch all the action unfold up ahead of you, and for a bonus you also get to drive the track at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, currently on board with Musumeci coming down the parabolic straight here, just behind Germantas, and we see a couple of cars going on the outside. I think that was a car 166, and that was Zicki there, just trying to defend his position. And Principato, let's see what happens here. Barloggio was managed to take this side by side here. Barloggio managing to take Zicki for the #1 spot here in the race, the Pro-Am driver. So these 2 pros at the front, Pro-Am drivers having a really good battle with all the rest of the pros just behind them. So really doing a great job here. But Germantas getting mixed up there, going from 4th place, just fighting it out at the moment at the back of the grid with Kenzia, just managing to get ahead, but has gone from 4th, and it just shows you how quickly you can just lose places by just getting that slow down. As Kenzia goes extremely wide there, coming around Mobile 1, manages to save that car. It was like a pinball effect. I think that magnet had changed positions there, Adam.
That was insane. We had 6 drivers come through what is a very fast right-hander, all sort of looking nice and neat, and then Kezia decides, no, I'm going to do it a different way. I'm going to show my drifting skills way out into the gravel. Thankfully managed to gather it up. I thought he was over-rotating it into a wall just for a second, but he's still there. Just got about a second to catch up, which he'll no doubt do fairly quickly as these guys bump and battle. We're looking off the back of Zerdzycki now. Right into the front radiator Ferrari. Oh, careful, don't stop moving around when you're that close off the back of each other. That's a surefire way to end up in the wall. Ferrari has got to watch himself here. We've got some very wild drivers around him. Speaking of which, Musumeci's up his inside now. Musumeci claims 4th, and I think Umantis has got a bit more of drive than Ferrari as well. Umantis has already put 1 dive on him. Might try a second one as we come down to the hairpin. Principato, meanwhile, is taking the lead. Oh, and he's trying to see off Zerdzycki on the inside. Barlogio's the other side of him. We're going 3 wide. Can they all sort it out in time? We saw last time round they pretty much ignored track limits. Let's see if any of them keep it on the track this time. Well, half of them maybe. Principato certainly needs a track buying for him. He doesn't know where the white lines start and end.
I mean, that was a perfect cut back there from Zerdzycki coming out of the hairpin. Obviously, Principato didn't manage to get his nose in front, but he has got it here into Mercedes corner, so retakes the lead of this race. And Zerdzycki putting so much pressure on Principato at the moment, and that was an amazing cutback at the hairpin. But at the moment, Principato seems to have gone extremely wide there, coming out of turn number 10, coming up to the mobile turn 11, and Zerdzycki right on his tail, so may have the opportunity to make an inside dive, depending on how defensive Principato comes down here into Sachs. But all position is normal. But what a great racing at the front of here in race number 3.
Certainly is. I think Zerdzycki is going to be a little bit miffed on the last 2 times at the hairpin. He's been overtaken by a car that's been off the circuit. So as Zerdzycki trying his best to stick to the track limits, get it, all slowed down in time. And Principato he had that amazing switchback, but Principato just had the more speed. And this is the white flag. This is your final lap of the race, and this is where it all matters. Who is going to come out on top here tonight?
Oh, I mean, it's anybody's game on the last lap. You've got 7 cars still in the fray here for the race win. Principato is leading out the group. Zerdzycki, for me, is in the prime place. Will have the slipstream over Principato, so should be able to make a move coming down into the hairpin. But I'm pretty sure Principato will be hugging that outside line to get the inside line into the hairpin, as we see Zerdzycki just pull out alongside it to try and take that inside line into the hairpin. Now he might be able to get the switchback done here on the inside, just managing to get his nose slightly ahead, but will be on the outside. Principato will have that inside line as we watch Musumeci trying to go around the outside of the 2. Oh no, and you just saw there Zerdzycki just cut back far too tightly in there, and Musumeci done an amazing move on the outside of the hairpin to take over second place from Zerdzycki, and he'll be gutted at the moment. Zerdzycki in the front 2 just managing to pull a stake, and oh no, absolute terrible there coming down into Mercedes. I think that was Ferrari and Zerdzycki was on for the win in this race and gets taken out in the last lap in Mercedes. Oh, no way.
Disaster, absolute disaster for Zerdzycki. I think he'd be really upset with that move that Musumeci made, but it ended up being nothing as Ferrari decided that he'd use him as his braking zone, really. But Musumeci still has an opportunity to get this race win. 2 tenths separating them, 2 corners to go, everything to play for.
We watch Musumeci here trying to go around the outside again. It seems to be his favourite route on the cutback here for Principato. Will he get the inside line? Will have the inside line into the last corner. It's going to be a race to the line. Principato's got that fast out-of-line speed. It's on! Oh no, they take each other out just before the line. Musumeci and Principato, they need to try and get over the line. I don't think they're going to be able to do. They're going to probably reverse. Oh no, as it come back over. Absolute carnage into the race finish, into race 3, and Gimantas takes the win. I mean, that is just crazy on the last turn.
That was utterly absurd. Those 2 could have claimed the top 2 positions. We're watching Zerdzycki come home with 3 wheels on his wagon. Last few drivers coming across the line. Thankfully, they haven't got a roadblock in front of them, these guys. Goossens claims 18th, Fredericks 19th, McCain 20th.
I mean, before we lose it, we got to watch our back, Lewis, from a couple of corners back, just to watch out. That was absolutely insane. I mean, the gap was there for Musumeci to do it, but just closed it down on the outside. So we'll watch the battle here as they come into Mobile 1. The front two out in front, and we just see Ferrari there just tapping the back of Zaziki, and just unfortunately takes him out going into Mercedes, and that put pay to him, considering Zaziki was at the front of the pack just a lap previous to that. And you see here Ferrari just putting a little bit of pressure, but we're back to the front too. I mean, that was absolutely amazing. Musumeci just pushing Principato to the absolute limit, coming down here into Sachs. Looks like Principato's got the job done. A little bit of gap, but Musumeci just closes that gap on him, and he gets a perfect line out of turn number 15 to give him the overlap with Principato coming into turn 16. But just watch this. Takes that real tight inside line, gets a real tight line alongside each other, and then just coming out, and then just slight tap, and that little tap just pushed Principato into Musumeci and just took them both out. I mean, I don't think I've seen a crazier end to a race than I've just seen.
Certainly not.
And then nearly took out some other cars. I mean, Musumeci just, he manages to get over with 3. I mean, look at that. That car is severely damaged.
It is, and I think just by watching it back, I think Musumeci is going to have to sort of take the responsibility for that. He was entitled to go at the inside. I mean, he was on the grass for just to make sure that he had enough space to give the other driver, but I think he sort of understeered too wide, and yeah, what an incredible end to an incredible 3 races.
I think what I'd personally love to see would be a collage of how every driver came across the line at the end there. We're going to have cars side by side, cars with 3 wheels on the wagon, cars in the grass. I don't think anyone finished the race in a normal fashion.
Certainly don't. I'll tell you what, Seb, we'll let you take you through the race 3 results.
So, Juventus, after that incredible final corner, takes the win with Roberto Ferrari right behind him in 2nd place. Kezia takes your final podium position with Bellagio just outside of the podium places in 4th. Russ Fowler, your head AM driver, in 5th place with Ronald Moons in 6th. Damien McCullen recovers very nicely to P7 with Raphael Lesney in 8th. Paul Hayden is 9th with Tom Bingham in 10th, with Ivan Pinocchio just outside of the top 10 in 11th after that crash at the final corner, with Principato right behind him in 12th. Sorry, it wasn't Pinocchio who was involved in that. It was Musumeci. Do apologise. So yeah, we've got Principato in 12th with Musumeci in 13th, with Zaziki bringing his 3-wheel car home in 14th. David Clasper is 15th with Tony Pearman in 16th. Marcelo Pagan finishes in 17th, with Jen Goosens, after being taken out in both race 2 and 3, in 18th. Ives Frederick is 19th, with Alan McCain rounding out your top 20. Mikael Lees is 21st, with Lee Shields 22nd. Napirelli is 3rd, and your final finisher on the lead lap. Sarantino is 24th, with Nilsa Cooper 25th. Your pole sitter, Martina, is down in 26th after retiring 2 laps from the end. Ian May retired with 6 laps to go. Jay Walsh with 8, and Archie Thornhill also with 8 laps.
Race number 3. I'm just coming down from the high of that race. I mean, it was just absolutely insane. I mean, we've seen some really close racing here in this season, but I mean, that one just takes the biscuit for best race finish ever, I think, on a Mazda Cup series. I don't know what you guys feel.
Yeah, just utterly insane, wasn't it? You don't see finishes like that week in, week out.
I think we're all speechless.
As good as our series is, even here, it's a rare one to see cars all over the road just like that. I mean, the entire final race was absolutely fantastic. I don't think we had a moment to catch our breath in that 3rd one, did we?
No. And, you know, I thought you guys were dumbstruck there with the silence that we had. But, I mean, Seb, what an amazing race.
Totally, what an amazing race. A great job driven by all. And, you know, we saw some incidents, but we saw some incredible close racing. I mean, the battles, the slipstreaming down into the hairpin, I think was my favourite. And then sort of the icing on the cake was the final lap. And and Juventus, who'd driven a great race, just picking up the win after the top two having I think we'll call it a disagreement at the final corner. It's just, I mean, that's why you should always stick around to the very end, because you just don't know what's going to happen until everybody crosses the line. And, we thought it was going to be, a race between those two, and it ended up, not being, and Juventus takes the win. And Roberto Ferrari, what a recovery drive, up 19 positions from where he started. That's got to be, he's got to be pleased with that.
Yeah, I think I'd also mentioned, Seb, well, both of you actually, I don't think we should blame Ferrari too much for that incident with Zerdzicki on the last lap. I think Zerdzicki might have pulled up a slowdown penalty. He cut so much of the hairpin, and then I think he was a little bit slow on the run down through 7 and 8. I just wonder if he was trying to serve a penalty in not the smartest of way by trying to keep Ferrari behind him at the same time. So if we'd had one of those in the interview room, it might be interesting to get their opinion.
But we do have our 3 usual suspects in the interview room. Adam, I'll let you have first choice today on who you want to chat with.
You know what? After he came 7th in that last race, I think there's only one choice for our first interviewee. That's Damien McMullen. Welcome into the box, Damien.
How are you keeping that? Jesus.
So, an absolutely fabulous final race for you there, coming home in 7th place, but you also claimed a top 10 in race 2 and 17th in race 1. How was your night?
Oh, absolutely brilliant. When I found out I had to pit lane start for race 1, I was like, here we go. Not going to have a good week on the racing. And then in the class, I think I finished 3rd in the class, so 17th overall, but 3rd in class. I'm happy with race 2. I was like, I'm going to push forward and see, can I do anything better? And yeah, the results were there. So I'm delighted.
Yeah, in race 2, you spent a large portion of that in 10th place, right on the bubble for reverse grid. Were you watching behind you? I think Hayden and Martina were the 2 drivers who were going to try and snatch it away from you.
Oh, they were. I was literally, oh God, here we go. They're going to catch me because they're quicker car drivers and everything. I won't have the experience they have. And I was like, just don't bottle. And then I think I finished 9th because there was an incident with somebody. And then I was delighted because I was starting off pole, so it was great. And then my plan was for race 3 was don't get in the way with the pros or the pro-ams. There's no point in wrecking their championship. And I saw Russ coming. I was like, there's Russ. We're going to race and battle. So I hope Russ, we're just talking there after the best racing we've had in a long time.
Yeah, we lost Jens Goosens in the final stages of race 2, didn't we?
No.
Which promoted you to a reverse grid. And then in that final race, obviously you were on the front row and you saw Martina just fly away from the line. What were your thoughts when he got such a blinding start, which obviously turned into a penalty?
I mean, I saw that. I was like, right, jump start. And then I was like, just keep going. Don't do the same thing he did. And just kept going. And I said I didn't want to upset their races either because 3 different championships are running at the same time. There's no point wrecking anyone else's race. So I was just concentrating on the AM championship. So that's why I kind of eased back a little bit and let them pass me.
Yeah, obviously in that race 2, only Russ Fowler's finished ahead of you in the AM standing. So that's got to be a pretty good result.
Yep, it is a good result. I think Russ might have a good lead down the championship and all that. So in 3rd overall. So I just need to push on for Bathurst next week.
Yep, Bathurst next week, final round of the season. How are you looking forward to that one?
Love it. I can't wait. Going up the hill and everything. It's just going to be brilliant. Hopefully there's no carnage. It's 2 25-minute races. So hopefully everyone behaves and remember cold tires going up the hill.
Wonderful. We look forward to it. Thanks for joining us, Damien.
Thanks, Ed. See you later.
So it was Damien McMullen, obviously ecstatic about his race results there overall, and we'll get probably the top AM driver in for this race. Welcome to the box, Russ. A great day's outing for you, heavily up on the front of the field for the majority of the races. I mean, you must be ecstatic with that result.
Well, to be honest, Andy, I'm pinching myself. I'm sure I'm going to wake up any moment because that just went too well. I can't remember another set of 3 races where I've kind of got away with not getting in any major incidents. I mean, I had the sort of half spin on the first race. I think Ferrari just sort of snagged me going into the hairpin. But apart from that, no incidents really. So, yeah, pinching myself, can't believe it. What happened?
I know. I mean, obviously, when we had you in the box last week, you were saying you were looking forward to this race. But did you even exceed your expectations of where you expected to be in tonight's race?
Well, one thing that I've learned doing these leagues is try not to have any expectations at all. So, because it goes, if you practice a lot, get really quick, go in with high confidence, it's 50-50 whether you get whether you get a good result or not. So I just try to manage my expectations going into this one. I just thought keep your nose clean, Russ. Just grind out a decent result in each race, and yeah, I mean, I think I picked up 2 extra places in it literally on the last straight in the last race. I was like, it's all just falling my way. It's brilliant.
It certainly is, and you will really enjoy the finale. I think that's probably been the most animated I've been in the commentary box for a long time. I won't spoil it for you, but it is an epic finish to race number 3 that you'll enjoy
Oh, great! I watched that.
watching back. It certainly is. But I mean, looking at your results tonight and looking where you are in the championship, you were a bit off Tom in 3rd place, but with Tom and Jens not having the best of nights here tonight, it'd be interesting to see how close you are to them going into the final round in Bathurst. I mean, how are you looking forward to Bathurst? And are your expectations now slightly higher to maybe get into that top 2?
No, don't tempt me, Andy. Don't tempt me. So all I'm going to say is I enjoy Bathurst. I like the track. That's all I'm saying. Nothing else.
Okay, there you go. Sit on the fence there, Russ. But great result from you tonight, mate, and probably well deserved. You've been pushing them sort of finishing results all season, but unfortunately, it's never come together. And it's great that you finally had one round in a 12-round season that's come together for yourself. So congratulations, mate. And before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
I'll do the usual and give my wife a shout out just for putting up with all my practice and stuff. Shout out to you guys. As I say every time I come into the box, always listen to the commentary the next day. It's always brilliant and entertaining. So thanks for that. And to my fellow competitors who barely put a scratch on my paintwork today, so I'm very grateful to them too. So yeah.
That's got to be a first in MX5 history, not
Yeah,
having a
I
special
reckon.
appearance. But congratulations, and look forward to seeing you out in Bathurst, mate.
Yeah, nice one. Cheers. Thanks, guys.
See you later, mate. So there was Russ. An excellent day at the office for us. Not normally used to seeing free races and free drivers have this. Seb, I don't know if you want to do an interview with one of my fellow teammates, Tom Bingham.
Yeah, let's bring Tom Bingham in and see what he has to say about his race. Good evening, Tom. I mean, great race. Just talk us through it from your side.
Well, one of the races was good. The first one, well, the 350-minute races, like, they're always going to be a bit messy, but these are exceptionally messy. Race 1, Archie speared me quite badly at the hairpin, and that sort of put an end to race 1. Race 2, there was a car crashing in front of me that I tried to avoid, and by avoiding it, I clipped Michael Lessie, I think his name is, who I apologized to profusely. And then race 3, something actually happened, and it was fairly clean for the most part, and avoided a few incidents. But I did have a bit of a rub with Jens in the one hairpin there as we went 3 wide. But I tried to stay as tight as possible and leave room, even though there's not room there. But it's a 350-minute race, isn't it? So got to be a little bit aggressive.
Yeah, you certainly have. And just sort of talk us through your mindset for the final race, because you were starting 17th. So, and obviously you'd seen the incident that happened in race 2 at the start. Were you sort of nervous about starting sort of from there, or were you confident that you could sort of make places up?
Yeah, I figured like I had reasonable pace, so I could make some places up, but it was just all about avoiding the carnage that was going to happen. Normally I would try and sort of weave between the cars and make my way through on track, but a couple of times I just decided to send it completely off the track just to avoid the accidents, to try and give myself the best chance to make it through, and it worked out in the end. Apart from the very last lap, I don't know if you guys saw the 2 cars parked or backing up in the middle of the track on the very last lap. Did you guys see that?
I think I don't think we did. It was a fairly hectic final lap. I think there's
Yeah.
many stories that we didn't quite pick up on.
Yeah,
But
no, fair enough. There was, I think it was
No.
Principato and somebody else backing up right
Yeah,
on the line, pretty
oh,
much after
sorry.
crashing.
Yes,
yeah.
we did. Yeah, sorry.
You won't spoil
Yeah.
it for you, Tom. You have to.
Yeah, myself and Hayden just decided to go for the grass. It was the only safe way to get by. So, but no, all in all, it is what it is. Racing's racing, and still always good fun.
It is. Yeah, it is indeed. It's we're just seeing actually on the stream one of your avoidance maneuvers that you had to do at the final corner. So next race, final race of the season in Bathurst. I mean, obviously it's a really challenging track. Are you going to sort of do anything different in terms of practice, or are you feeling pretty confident around there?
Yeah, no, I'm feeling pretty confident. I did a lot of practice actually around there in GT3, not Mazdas, but I know the track quite well, and I'll just try and put some practice in for this one and see where we're at. So I don't know if Andy's there, but what's the championship looking like, Andy? How are we faring? Is Russ in front of me now with his 3 wins?
I'm not going to tell you yet, am I? You have to wait till I get
Cheers, mate. Appreciate that.
Hint, I haven't done it yet.
But no, it's excited for Bathurst. It should be a fun one.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, hopefully you can sort of replicate the your race 3 for the next race, because you really sort of proved what you could do when you weren't sort of involved in incidents. So great job from you, and looking forward to seeing you at Bathurst.
Cheers, lads. Thanks a lot.
Tom there, having a bit of mixed fortune, which has seemed to be the order of the day on the whole here at Hockenheim. So, guys, I mean, what's your final thoughts from them 3 rounds? First over to you, Adam.
Well, I just think it's an amazing round for Seb to have joined us on. I mean, the 3 race rounds are always a little bit more hectic, but tonight that was just absolutely fabulous racing all across the board. Got a shout out to you, Mantis, for snatching the win at the end there. And our other race winners, Martina and Pagnan, for putting on a show tonight. But all the drivers, just excellent, fantastic driving. Obviously, a nice wide open Grand Prix circuit has lent it to the Mazdas for tonight. May the good racing roll into next week.
And obviously, Seb, your very first broadcast here on ARL. I mean, how was it for you, mate?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah, exactly what Adam said. What a race to start commentating on Apex Racing is a race like that. It had everything. It had strategy. It had really good overtake, good racing, and of course the crazy final corner that I think we're all going to remember and probably all going to go and immediately watch back as soon as we finish off the stream, because I don't think I fully have grasped what happened, and I think it's probably the same for most of us. So yeah, just what a race, and great drive by everybody, really. And what I love about the 3 races is we've had different names at the top of the timing stands for each race. It's so good. It's so nice to see, and it really keeps the racing fresh.
It certainly does, and yeah, I'd just like to echo that as well. I think it's been amazing. I think the races built after each round. The first one, they were just getting used. The second one got a little bit more hectic, and literally by race 3, we sort of had the race that we wanted to have here tonight. That grandstand finish and that epic finish we had there in race 3. Like I said, I don't think I've been so animated in the comms booth on a race. But that brings us to the end of this broadcast. Just a big shout out to all our viewers on YouTube. Thanks for sticking with us, and hope you enjoyed these 3 races tonight as much as myself, Adam and Seb did. If you did like the broadcast, give us that thumbs up. Think about subscribing to the channel and clicking that bell. We have many series here on Apex Racing TV pretty much every single night of the week. We've got the GT3 trophy coming up tomorrow, and our race around Watkin Glen, so that should be super entertaining. But also have a look at our Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. All the usernames are just Apex Racing TV. But if you fancy that you want to get out onto the grid in any one of the races, head over to apexracingleague.com and sign up for one of the wonderful series that we do have on there. Plenty always going on, so just have a look and see what takes your fancy. If not, just keep joining us here on YouTube to enjoy the streams that we provide. on here. But from myself, Andy Thompson, from Sebastian Boscher-Williams, and from Adam Huffield, with production being brilliantly done again by Lewis Herrera. We bid you farewell from Hockenheim and look forward to seeing you in the final round of the season at Bathurst, the same time next week. Good night.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers, including Peter Berryman, John Robertson, Brandon Trano, and IndyCar World Champion Alex Palou. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.